Hey, what's going on? I'm Matt O'Leary back with another video, and today I'll be talking about 3 different trade packages the New York Jets could offer for DeShaun Watson. Before we get started today, I just wanted to mention you can follow me on social media if you haven't already at Matt O'Leary NY. You can check out the podcast. New episodes drop every Monday wherever it is that you get your Jets podcasts. And last but not least, check out the new merch we got up. Link in the description below. Pick yourself out something nice. All right, so obviously, when a 25-year-old franchise quarterback who is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL becomes available, you do your digging. Now, I don't necessarily know if it's realistic or not for the New York Jets to acquire DeShaun Watson via trade, but Joe Douglas absolutely should pick up the telephone and see what it would cost to get DeShaun Watson. And I have 3 trade packages to talk about. One that I think is maybe a little bit of a stretch, and 2 that could maybe make a little bit more sense for the team, for both teams really. But we're looking at this through the Jets lens, and obviously when you get a top 5 quarterback in here who is 25 years old in the prime of his career, that changes a lot of things. And of course, the Jets are not only a quarterback away, but having a top 5 quarterback and a really good offensive mind as a coordinator and a really good head coach helps a ton. And the Jets would still have pieces to build around DeShaun Watson and cap space to work with, because they'll have $80 million in cap space in free agency. They can cut guys like Henry Anderson, and then cut guys like on the offensive line. You can move Alex Lewis, someone out like that, and create space in other ways. So the first trade I'm going to talk about that I have for you, I'm calling it the Jamal swap. So that's taking the picks that you got for Jamal Adams and flipping it for DeShaun Watson. I don't know if that one's that likely, but it's 2021 first-round pick from Seattle, the 2021 third-round pick from Seattle, and the 2022 first-round pick from Seattle. So 2 firsts and a third-round pick, and you're acquiring DeShaun Watson for that. Now, you would still trade Sam Darnold, obviously. I think you get a second-rounder for him. So you would still have the second overall pick at that point, 2 seconds, 1 third, 1 fourth, 2 fifths, and 1 sixth-rounder. And at that point, you could pretty much get creative for what you want to do. Building, you can move back from the second overall pick. DeShaun Watson, obviously, is your quarterback of the future. And for the Texans, well, who the heck knows what they're going to do at the quarterback position. That's not our problem. But in this one, it's just taking the Jamal Adams picks and flipping it. I've seen that online a lot. Again, I don't think this one is as likely a scenario. I don't think it's enough to get it done. The 2 first-rounders is probably where you're starting, and I think you're probably going to have to add more on top of that. So this one, yeah, of course I would do it, but I don't think it's going to be enough to get it done. Trade proposal number 2, I'm calling 3 firsts front-loaded. So that means both 2021 first-round picks. So that's the second overall pick this year and Seattle's pick this year, and Seattle's 2022 pick. So that's your 3 first-round picks, what it would likely take, in my opinion, to get DeShaun Watson. You would still trade Sam Darnold for a second. So yes, you would have no first-round picks this year, but you would still have 2 seconds, 2 thirds, 1 fourth, 2 fifths, and a sixth, and you would still have DeShaun Watson, which helps out things a lot. You can get creative. If you have multiple seconds, you can move up into the first round that way. You could trade for a veteran if you really wanted to, but I still think you could build a roster outside of just first-round talent. You have Joe Douglas, who is a much better drafter. This isn't the John Idzik days. This isn't the Mike McCagnon days. So not having a first, but having a top 5 quarterback this year, you could survive like that. And again, you would still have $80 million in cap space that you can go nuts with. My last trade proposal, I'm calling it 3 firsts spread out. That would be the Jets' first-round pick this year, so number 2 overall, the Jets' first-round pick next year, so wherever the Jets finish, and 2023's first-round pick. So even so, you're moving 3 first-round picks. The only year you will not have at least 1 first-round selection is 2023, which is 2 years away from now. You would still have Seattle's pick this year, so you'd be picking 23 overall and have DeShaun Watson this year. And you would have Seattle's first-round pick next year, which we're likely assuming is somewhere in the 20s. You would still, once again, trade Sam Darnold for a second in this scenario and pick up an additional second-round pick that you can get creative with and do different things with. And like I mentioned, the only year that you're not going to have a first-round pick is 2023, and that's a couple of years down the line. And I know some people might not like the idea of not having first-round draft capital, and I understand it completely. And I'm usually someone who would be right there with you saying, hey, man, this is a rebuilding team. But when you figure out the quarterback position and not just take a flyer on someone like Justin Fields or Zach Wilson, or betting on Sam Darnold to figure it out in year 4 and get a surefire top 5 quarterback, like, The Texans situation last year was atrocious. They had a worse offensive line than the Jets. They didn't have very many skill position players after trading guys away. Will Fuller, their best offensive wide receiver, went down and with a suspension, so he missed some parts of the end of this year. And DeShaun Watson still led the league in passing yards, still led the league in yards per attempt. So he was able to thrive in an awful situation. He would be going to a team with a much better head coach, a much better general manager, and some infrastructure and a better offensive line that they continue to add to in both the draft and free agency. And you can absolutely get by and build a competitive roster around DeShaun Watson. Because at the end of the day, we're just trying to figure out what is the best route to get your franchise quarterback. Is it taking a flyer in the draft, or is it betting on Sam Darnold, or is it option number 3, which is trading for DeShaun Watson, who already is a franchise quarterback? Again, are any of these 3 proposals going to happen? I don't know. There's no way for me to gauge right now the interest level of the Jets, what the Texans' ideas are with trading DeShaun Watson, but it seems like he wants out. And with the Jets draft capital, them and Miami seem like the front runners for DeShaun Watson, which is absolutely exciting, and we should be at least exploring and talking about the conversation. So let me know what you think of the ideas down in the comments below. You can get at me on social media at Matt O'Leary NY. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll talk to you next time.